Good evening, everyone, and our viewers at home. I'm Sergeant of Arms, and this is Golden Speakers Toastmasters of Fairfield. It's Tuesday, October 29th. Not far from Halloween.
Spooktacular.
Spooktacular, exactly. Please join me in warmly welcoming our club president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Yay!
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. I would like to ask everyone to turn off their technical device. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to create a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which each and every individual has the opportunity to learn oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence. Everybody raise your hands and smile. When we do this, we get really confident. Self-confidence and self-improvement, personal improvement. Tonight we have one speaker. We're going to have some fun tonight with table topics. It's good to see all your bodies in the room, all your happy faces. We'll have some fun here. I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, who is going to be Mr. Bob Burns tonight. Please help me warmly welcome Bob Burns.
Hey, Rhonda.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. And welcome, everybody. It's great to be here. And Ryan still owes me a piece of bread, even though Darlene was supposed to be here. But either way, I'll take maybe 1,000 Toastmaster bucks, whatever that is. It could be kicks in the bucks. So, all right. Well, we have an exciting meeting. One speaker, but there is a lot of opportunities for table topics tonight. So look forward to impromptu speaking coming up and giving your opinion about something. So let me introduce the role players. And first we have the timer, Surya Zeeb, and he's going to give us an indication and a summary of what the timer does.
Right. The timer takes the time and indicates where we are with regards to the time with these lights. Tabletop, we first start out with table topics. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light turns on at 1 minute. The yellow light turns on at 1 minute 30 seconds, and the red light turns on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. The second part is the prepared speeches, of which we will have one tonight, and that will be, the prepared speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, and with those, the green light turns on at 5 minutes, the yellow light turns on at 6 minutes, and the red light turns on at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. And then at the end we have evaluations. For those we have, and those are usually 3 minutes, those are 3 minutes. The green light turns on at 2 minutes, the yellow light turns on at 2 minutes 30 seconds, and the red light turns on at 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the evaluation.
So I'm the next person, which is my favorite role. Monty's going to come up here, or he's going to introduce his role as a counter.
Thank you.
So the odd counter in the Toastmasters Club has the distinction of potentially being one of the most annoying, but at the same time also one of the most harmless and hopefully loving roles there is in the club. The odd counter's role is to take a tally of everyone when they say these filler words, like ums, ahs, likes, you know, you so. So's a favorite of mine. But, and, tongue clicks, pauses, Xerox. What is a Xerox?
That's the same as a false.
That's the false start.
Yes.
Okay, a Xerox/false start. So throughout, there I go. One for me.
That's tough.
Before I keep tallying myself up here, at the end of the meeting, I'll be giving a report on everyone's favorite words, which they just love to hate.
Thank you. Self-critique is beneficial, so good deal. Now, another favorite position, Diane will introduce the grammarian role.
Yo!
I'm the grammarian. I'm going to be watching for use of language and words. And I thought I'd very quickly read to you examples of good language. Here's what I'd be looking for when I say that. That you're brief and to the point, you speak in a conversational manner, you're really good at expressing your point of view, your language is adapted to the audience that you're speaking to, you're really good at using metaphors, similes, and analogies, you use good figures of speech, and I love this one, you use powerful words. So instead of everything being great, you might say it was magnificent. It was, like that. So I'll be watching for those. Yikes. We're like a team here, right? So the word of the day, the theme tonight was masks. So I chose the noun facade. And I put that in there too. Isn't it magnificent? Okay. It's a noun, and the definition, one of the definitions, and this is the one I'm using tonight, a superficial appearance or illusion of something. Used in a sentence, they managed somehow to maintain a facade of wealth. So the word tonight is facade, and I will keep track of who uses it and how many times you use it, and I'll give a report at the end. Thank you.
No. Shake his hand.
Oh, shake his hand.
That's an amazing facade of a grammarian, Diane. We appreciate it. All right, good deal. Jeff Shipley will be our general evaluator and come up later in the meeting and take over the role for the evaluators and the speakers. And then Jean Simonton Craig, she was our greeter, and she'll be our joke master, so just look forward to just totally rolling on the ground and being excited about the joke she's going to tell. It's going to be amazing, isn't it? And Dan Craig, he's just a great guy, and I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. But he's also going to be our ballot counter, and he's kind of a leader of something, right? Right? What's the leader of?
The leader counter.
The leader counter, there you go.
If anybody is fulfilling a role tonight that they can get evaluated in their manual, and you haven't arranged for an evaluator yet, let's hook you up with someone. Anybody in that situation? Okay, we're good. Always remember to bring your leadership manual and be evaluated for every role. Thank you.
Good. And it's good, nobody has a situation, so that's good. Now, I'd like to introduce or have them introduce themselves. We have some guests here tonight, so if you're a guest, would you just mind saying what your name is? Stand up and so we can just greet you and say hi.
Hello, my name is Sam, and I'm here. Hi.
We're glad you're here. All right, Sam.
I'm Sudevi Mosei, and I am a part of the Rotary Club, so I was there when the Toastmasters presented, and I was inspired, so I'm here to check it out.
Wow. Yay!
Hi, my name is Krista Brisbane. It's my first time here tonight.
All right, welcome. Great. Thanks for coming.
My name is Brando Piguet. I'm here to sort of audit, that's the right word, check out Toastmasters, recent MBA grad. I'm giving a presentation beginning in November at Luther College, so I may need a little help in speaking in front of people. Make sure I don't say, like, so that's why I'm here in a good time.
All right. And we're a supportive organization, so we'll help you. You'll help us too.
Good evening, I'm Jordan Wallace. I'm a student at MUM. I'm a pre-med student, as well as on my way to being a speaker for building a new platform of healthcare. So this is my first evening here. So hi.
Great, thank you for coming.
My name's Mahesh. Here I am.
Yo!
All right. we look forward to you being here, and we also look forward to comments at the end of the meeting. You'll just be called upon. Oh, we have one more. Oh,
And last but not least, I'm Sarah Kingsbury.
Yay!
Weren't you here before, Sarah?
I came last week to check it out.
Okay, all right. So
And she
you're a
came back.
second-time guest.
Yes.
All right. So we're happy to have you all. We look forward to your comments at the end of the meeting to let us know how we did. So now it's time for the hors d'oeuvres, as Tom always calls it. And this will be so cool because it's table topics, and I'd like to introduce our first table topics master, and that is Karen Aoki.
Yo!
Good evening, golden speakers, and all our distinguished guests. I'm Karen Aoki. As the topics master, I will ask maybe for 2 or 3 volunteers to come up and practice your off-the-cuff improv skills. I have a little bit of an interactive agenda for tonight involving my flute. That's about all I will say for now. Do we have a volunteer?
Yo! We got
All
a
right,
spy.
go on.
We got a guest.
I will give you a topic. I'll
Okay.
explain what to do. At the beginning of the meeting, I'm sure they told you, you have minimum of 1.5 minutes, maximum of 2 minutes, 30 seconds to talk. And I will give you a subject. The theme of Mass inspired this idea. Theater in Japan, quite often will put on a mask, and then that will be the emotion that expresses. This is a little bit of a tangent. You're going to be inspired not by a mask, but by sound, by music. You have 2 options. You can sit and listen for a short clip, or you can start, and then if I interject with some kind of a musical sound, you can respond to that. Method of your choice. Other than that, the topic is free range. What you do with that is up to you. Would you like option 1?
Can I hear a clip?
Sure. So we're going to go with the muse route, where I will play something and then we'll see what you're inspired to say. I would say maybe the timer can start with his first word. Let's do it that way. Do I need to be on camera or we're good? Wait. Okay.
Very good. That actually reminds me a lot of when I was in elementary school practicing my trombone in my house. That actually was a lot of embarrassment, I would say, because mainly my family is incredibly nosy. So they like to really open the door and say, "Hey, that sounds good." And just the fact of them saying that, I know for a fact that they're hearing me and that they're actually listening to me, and that was just like utterly mortifying for whatever reason. It's pretty interesting to actually look at what within myself has caused that feeling of just like hating the fact that I'm being listened to. And upon reflection to this day, it seems that I'm just a perfectionist. And I think I'm always like never going to be satisfied with what I'm doing in the present moment, pretty much eternally so. It seems as though I even dislike compliments because it seems like they're just false, like right off the bat, because I have a higher bar than that. So that's essentially the point where I decide to just like smile and agree with the person rather than and just put my trombone away, or just I never invested in soundproofing equipment or anything like that, or room dampening or anything of the sort. So I quit.
And I just asked the timer to keep the light on. So once it's yellow, keep the yellow light on. Okay. Candidate number 2.
I'd like to do it.
Krista?
The laughing one
Sue Davy?
who pushed my hand into the air with
Yeah.
my
All right, Sue Davy.
Welcome, Briggs. You are allowed to segue. You don't have to stick to the topic.
Okay.
You can take whatever direction you like. Would you like scenario number 1 where I provided something like a muse, or would you like to just start and then respond to an oral cue? Or
The muse one. Little does everyone here know, Sam and I actually just came from an improv type rehearsal place, or we were with the people that we do improv with, so right now I'm hoping that I can use those skills right now. It's kind of interesting because basically what happened last week is that I was joining this troupe just for fun. So these were my friends, they were actors that I knew that had a comedy troupe, and they had actually helped me make a video during the summer for my video business, for promo videos. And so they said, hey, I don't know if it's because I haven't had my coffee yet, sent me a text, my friend, but are you blonde now? And by the way, how about you come do improv with us, because I think that might be one of your skills. So I went mostly because I missed them and I hadn't seen them really since the summer. And I was doing the exercises with them and learning about improv and asking them to give me feedback and doing the exercises. And the more I learned about improv, the more I felt like it was like life. And whenever I told my friends or family what we did in improv, the more I said, and that was a lot like life. Let me think of an example. So I was telling them, okay, when I get on the stage there, I have to come into the scene, which is being made up by the other ones. What do I do at that moment? And they said, just look to the other people. Let them inspire you. And I thought, just like life. Because in life, it's so much more satisfying when you're not trying to make a thing about being yourself. You just get inspired by the people around you and help them. And in a group, you can create something so much better than just being concerned about your own self. Am I supposed to stop now?
Got 30 seconds.
Okay. And so that was just one of the many lessons about improv that I learned last week.
Yo!
One more. We could have 2 up here interacting to the music.
Whoa. Whoa now.
Up the bar, raising the bar.
One more volunteer.
Oh, bunch.
Okay, option A or option B?
Let's do what you can do.
Okay.
movie The King and I when I listened. I remember watching that in middle school. And it also reminded me when I was in elementary school in Long Beach, California, Longfellow Elementary. They used to take us to the symphony, the Long Beach Symphony. And we used to go during the daytime. And I don't know, was it because the Long Beach Symphony wasn't that popular, or maybe because it was in the daytime, and there was just nothing but like second and third graders there. It was always empty. We had the theater to ourselves. And I used to always just sit there and we used to have the whole symphony, the whole orchestra just playing. And nowadays, one of my dreams, not even a dream, something I want to do, is to go to a symphony. I want the whole theater to myself. And I want to sit at the top, look down at the entire orchestra and just listen and just close my eyes and just be taken away into like wherever my mind goes. That's something I always remember. You know, when she played the flute, which she plays so well, it reminds me of that. I think I used to play the trumpet and saxophone. I remember all the girls, they played the flute, the clarinet. And it's not, you know, I'm not trying to be chauvinistic or anything. It's just, that's what I just noticed. So I remember playing the saxophone in 5th grade because I don't even know the name of the song, but I was really touched in the 5th grade by this one classical record. So I started playing the saxophone and then I ended up hating it because of the reeds, and it just make those squeaky noise. You always got to keep the reeds moist, and it was like, whatever. Then I think it was in 7th grade I played the trumpet, which is a beautiful instrument. Both are beautiful instruments. Now that I get older, I realize they both have great sounds. The trumpet has a great brass sound. You hear that brass, you're like, whoa, like the king is here. And then the saxophone has like the alto sax. It's just beautiful. Just when I heard it play, I was just reminded of that.
Thank you for your participation. It's a lot of fun. Now we'll invite our second table topics master, Dan Craig.
Yo!
Thank you, Karen. That was probably the most original table topics session I've ever seen. You'll find that I am much more literally minded. I feel that I'm just a facade of a table topics master. I've got categories of masks. I thought about different types of masks, and I'm going to ask a lucky or unlucky person to come up, and I'll tell them the category I'm thinking of and a question that it suggests to me and ask them to speak a while on that. So let's have a volunteer. The guests are doing great. Keep on coming. Members can do this too. We've got so many table topics, it doesn't matter if you have a role or not. Okay. We're setting a record for guest participation.
I'll say, absolutely.
What
This
is your
is
name, please? I'm Jordan. Jordan Wallace. Hi.
Jordan, I've got 5 categories of masks, so I'm going to have you pick a number from 1 to 5. 2. One type of mask is what I would classify as a breathing mask. That would be like a gas mask that they wore in World War I, or a surgeon's mask that he wears to protect his patient, a respirator that somebody spray painting a car would wear. So, my starting point for you is, have you worn one of these types of masks or seen somebody doing it? And what do you remember about that, or what was your impression?
Interestingly enough, I have.
Shake.
Oh. Okay. Mask. I have indeed wore I think two of those masks. One, my favorite picture that I've ever taken, I have this like 70s style, vintage, like Star Wars shirt on, and I'm a Trekkie fan. But my favorite mask that I wore, or the second one, would be a gas mask, and it was also from this old insane asylum that I was at, and I was like being taught medical classes and also teaching medical classes, mostly like phlebotomy classes. I was getting ready to go and work at an orphanage for a year before coming and attending to MUM, and we had put on this Halloween haunted place, like at this insane asylum. That was the first place that they ever gave phlebotomies, and it was the only place that we could use to rent. The government gave us to rent to teach these medical classes that would go in about 6 months, and you'd go and join, you know, any type of volunteer service around the world. So, interesting enough, my favorite photo was of me putting on this gas mask that was from this hospital. And my favorite picture. And the second one has to also do with the surgical mask. I wore a surgical mask also, so very nostalgic for me. Probably the same time as right now. Yeah, that's quite a coincidence that I'm a guest here right now and you asked me that question. And I don't really remember what the other mask was.
Okay, how about somebody else?
I'll take it. Oh, you go?
Sure.
Karen?
Karen wants to go.
She's come up without her flute, so she's...
Yeah,
This is advanced. We have used 2, so 1, 3, 4, or 5.
5.
One category of masks, as you might know, is the disguise. There are Halloween masks where you can be a ghoul or Richard Nixon. You could have a masquerade ball mask. You could be at the Mardi Gras wearing a mask. My question is, unless you choose to segue, what's the most fun you've had while wearing a disguise?
Good evening, golden speakers and fellow guests. My favorite disguise of all time would have to be the one that's before you. It's about 5'2".
Yeah.
Mixture of maybe German and Japanese. I've worn it well for about 31 years, and I was just reflecting on masks and thinking this is probably the most phenomenal disguise one could wear, because quite often I get a sense that I'm also not this body. It's just something I've always been aware of. There's a part of me that's not female, it's not really personal, it's not Japanese, it's abstract, kind of removed from the situation. And when I have that kind of separation, it gives me a lot of creativity because, well, maybe I've been a certain way for so long, but it's just a disguise. It's just a role. Why not change it up? And when I really came into this perspective was through traveling, because when I go to another country, a whole different aspect of myself comes out. Maybe it's because when I went to India, it was very, to me, more aggressive culture. Something else came out of myself. When I grew up in Japan, it's much more reserved. A very different aspect of myself came out. So I saw how easily what I thought was me changed. So there's the ever-changing disguise. And then there's something that's never changing that I'm getting to be more familiar with as well. Thanks for the question.
Mr. Trainer. Come on up. I've got, let's see, 1, 3, or 4.
Well, let's go with 3.
One type of mask involves vision. There's the scuba mask, the biplane pilot goggles, or the soldier night vision goggles. What's my question? You could do your own, but I thought, have you seen a movie or a TV show where the hero wore one of these masks, and what was it?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored, distinguished guests, and viewers at home. I was inspired by Karen's question, and it was an event in my life that had totally slipped out into somewhere, well, we will call that a senior moment, right? Yeah. Approximately 11, 12 years ago, 2 of our Toastmaster friends invited us to their wedding. Now, this wedding was on Halloween weekend. It was a masquerade wedding. You had to come in costume. Now, the bride came dressed as the groom, and the groom came dressed as the bride. If that's the opener, you kind of get an idea about the costumes. I had this crazy idea. It really was crazy, but I did it anyway. I went dressed as Shiva. Now, I went to Walmart, and they sell, around Halloween, they sell makeup that you can put on. So I had a pair of blue, nice shorts, and I had a blue t-shirt, and the rest of my body was covered with blue body paint. Entirely. My ears, my face, my arms, my hands. And I was wearing a pair of pink granny slippers that I bought at Walmart. You know, the kind with the little fuzzies and the little ball underneath them? And I went to the wedding. And it was a wonderful wedding. And there were people, there was this old school teacher who came dressed with nothing on but a sheath dress and nothing else. And it was slit all the way up to about her thigh bones. And there were other costumes that were a considerable facade-like entities that we would not name. And I was doing fine. And the bride and the groom we had known for 2 years in Toastmasters. None of them knew who I was until I did one thing that was a dead giveaway. I laughed! Mr. Table Topics.
And now it's time for our third Table Topics Master, Gene Simon McCrae.
Gene Simington! Yes, yes, yes!
I had no idea he was cooking all that up when I was sitting 7 feet away from him this afternoon. Very good. All right, so we're coming down. This is your third opportunity. Those of you that haven't gotten up yet need to stretch your legs. This is it. I'm not even going to tell you. It's related to the theme, the masks, but that's about it. So hands, anybody? I'm going to look for, no. I'm holding you as an ace, but there's somebody maybe, you know. I mean, we're getting such a
Completely unnoticed.
Sit next to me then.
You sat next to me.
I know. All right. Pick a number between 1, 2, 3, or 4. 4. Okay. A lie is a way to mask the truth. Tell us a story about a time when you masked the truth. What was the situation? What was the outcome?
Okay. And you could lie.
Yeah.
I lie all the time. Every single day. And it's because I have children. And you have to lie to them. Like, of course there are no cookies in the house. What are you talking about? I don't know how you're smelling chocolate. Do you need to go blow your nose? Maybe you're stuffed up. And no, there are no ghosts, especially not in this 150-year-old house. Go to sleep. And yes, Santa is real. That's a lie we all tell our kids, and I don't think it's a bad thing to lie, is my point. And as a writer, I lie because some stories are better if you exaggerate or change little details, and they actually, in a larger sense, make the story more true. Because no detail of any story will really quite work unless you tweak it a little bit. So I'm just going to say it right here. I am in favor of lying, and I think you all should do it. Especially to your children. It will make your life so much easier.
There you are, you're good. I so love it when somebody gets up for the first time. Members, isn't that great when that happens? I get a rush. Do it. All right, let's see. Do we have any other people who have not been? Okay.
I'll do it.
Okay, Monty.
Monty.
All right. We have 1, 2, or 3.
1, 2, or 3. Let's do 3.
Tell us a story about a time when you wore a mask, either for Halloween, or for a party, or an event. What happened? How much fun did you have? It's a ghost, it's the resident ghost. Thank you. Now remember, you have up to 30 seconds to think and organize a table topics.
I'm going to do a little twist on this. You wanted me to talk about Halloween masks, but you also said events. A mask that I wore to an event. As some of you know, I'm an Army veteran, and one of the topics I liked about that Dan brought up was the device masks, the respirator, the breathing masks. Now, one of the pinnacle experiences of going through basic training is going to the gas chamber. And contrary to popular belief, Dan, they still wear gas masks today, not just in World War II. So I had that experience. I can still remember it because something interesting happened with my mask onto the way to the gas chamber. My mask didn't seal. So part of the ordeal is that you march in with your squad, about 8 or 10 people, and they line you up against the wall, and the room is already full of the tear gas. It's full of CS gas, is what they call it. And they make you count out to a certain number, and then you have to remove your mask. And they make you hold your breath for about 20 to 30 seconds. And then the drill sergeant's in there wearing a mask, and he yells at you, "Breathe!" And you just suck in a huge gulp of tear gas, and you start choking, and you start tearing up. Your nose starts running. In this state, you then have to put back on your mask. My mask didn't seal, so when I first walked in, I was choking the whole time. They were telling when you're in your mask, I was choking the whole time, tearing up when I had the mask off, and then when I put the mask back on, I was still, choking up. We had to be in there for 3 minutes, and so I endured that full chamber of CS gas for 3 minutes. And finally, when they let us run out, I was the first one to climb over the pile. I had snot coming out of my nose. Freaking, it was a mess. And the best part of it is they had a cameraman there taking pictures of you coming out of the gas chamber. And you could buy these. Thank you.
Very clever. He picked up on a little phrase in the question and used it to take off. I like that. He didn't dodge a question. That was great. So everybody wipe your eyes, sniff your nose after that story. Okay, who else do we wants to come up here and do a, I know we're, Surya,
No.
you're smiling awful big over there.
Because everybody's pointing at me.
I know.
Go. No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
No, all right.
You might feel more okay if you can.
Hey, he's got a time, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, we can always take care of it. All right, it's okay, it's okay. Well, Cindy raised her hand, so Cindy, here, let's have you come on up. All right, so I think we have 1 and 2 left.
1.
Okay, To mask or not to mask? That is the question. Tell us about a time or a situation where if you had had a mask, you would have put it on to hide behind.
Remember back to when you were maybe 7 or 8 years old. Did you ever do something that you just dreaded Mom and Dad would find out about?
No.
No. Well, up the block and around the corner and way down there was a farm implement store, Case Tractor dealership. And you walked into the place on a hot afternoon and you would be embraced in this beautiful, cool feeling coming out because it was cement thick walls. And it didn't seem to matter how hot it was outside. It was always at least 10 degrees cooler in there because it had really heavy cement floors, and it just was nice. And the smell of wood and the machinery and a little bit of acrid smell of oil and gasoline from the repair shop out back. But what drew me in as an 8-year-old was the candy counter. You had to have candy counter, especially in the mid-60s and stuff. It was just a place for a young kid with a little change or not so much change in their pocket. And I stole some candy. Egged on by a friend. No, this is true. That part's true. I was egged on by a friend, a girlfriend. And we paid for some, but not the whole thing. We just kind of like, I'll take one of those and one of those. And we went home, and I went up to my bedroom, and all of a sudden, all the candy came out of the pockets. And it was like, oh boy, well then Mom found out. Because she could do lots of math real quick, and she said, you know, you've got 10 cents and you've got like 30 cents worth of candy here. She marched me back to the store, and I had to confess, it was the worst moment of my life, and I always wanted to look like somebody else when I did that.
I remember 5 cents bought a lot of candy. There was some things have changed. All right, so where are we? One more?
One more.
Okay, we have one more. Jeff Shipley.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's work it out here. Let's see, how many do I have? Okay, well, there's only one left.
2.
Yes, that's
Wow.
it.
He's trying.
Sold. Right. You are in a mask store with all kinds of masks. Dan's already given us a lot of them. You want to select a mask to wear to a masquerade party, select that, and can choose any mask you want. What mask would you choose and why?
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, tabletop master. If I was in a store, any mask fathomable? I guess I would be most interested in, like when you see the National Geographic, the African tribes, they do all their dances in those masks. I don't know, I'm not a big mask guy. I barely dressed up for Halloween. I just kind of wrapped a bandana around my face and said it was an inside political party, I call them anyway. So, yeah, I guess I would just want to be something exotic, something that I've never experienced before. I'd want to pretend to be, you know, here I am, this young man in America, living the dream. I would want to pretend to be someplace on the total opposite end of the world, doing something that I could never really see myself doing. So I don't know, I'd probably wear like one of those grass skirts and one of those black and white masks. I don't know, thinking like Zulu, is that right? People know what I'm talking about? I don't know, I would just go across the wall, pick the most exotic, craziest thing I could see, and I'd put it on, and I don't know, maybe have a glass of wine, shake my hips, and see what happens.
Very good. All right, so I think at this point we want to vote for our best table topics. Sorry, you've got a bit of a job here. Can you tell us the names of the people who did qualify?
Yes. Everybody qualified.
And maybe you could just, okay, can we just do one thing?
Sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
When your name is called, we have a lot of people maybe that we don't know all the names. When your name, read them a little slowly, and if you could just stand so we could kind of connect name and face, that would be useful. Okay? So go ahead and read.
Sam.
Dan? Okay, and then sit.
Sudevi. Brando. Jordan. Karen. Tom.
We all know him.
Sarah. Monty. Cindy. And Jeff.
All right. So you can go ahead and vote. Good. Now we're going to evaluate our table topic. This is something that our club does particularly because we want to get a little feedback on that. And I'm hoping that the evaluators grouped your evaluations based on the table topic. So John, you did Karen's, is that correct? And Rick did Dan's, like that? Great. Okay, you did mine. All right, so I'd like to first call up for the first table topics evaluator is John Moros.
Yo!
And you ought to just call each other up.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. Golden speakers, viewers at home, and honored guests, which we have a lot of tonight. Goodness, that's good, because we needed people to speak, and you guys are guinea pigs. All right, Karen's team. I see it as 3 teams. All right, Karen's Table Topics team I think is the best, and here's why. Sam was the first speaker. Now Sam put on this facade of being a regular guy, right? Walks up, he's cool. But then we find out he's really deep, you know? He went with, let me see, Karen played a tune, and then he started thinking about his trombone days. All right, that's great. Personal story, always good. I remember I played trumpet for 12 years. That brought back a lot of memories of practicing. Also, Sam, what I would say is when you say trombone, everybody's looking for the trombone movement, okay, arm movement. And I felt that's a good way to make some gestures up here.
All right.
Genuine emotion, you made us feel genuine emotion, which was great. We felt the anxiety. What I would also suggest is you come out from behind a little, the podium.
Yeah.
Interact with the people. Now, I would commend Sam on his fearlessness of being the first speech, but Sam won't believe my compliment. Sue Davy was the second guest, and she had some also sound inspiration. And she had a good facade too. She came up, oh, I've never done this before. And then we find out she is a professional improv actor. That's the way she managed our expectations. She had a really good subject. She related it right to her life lessons. It was great. She went right deep down in there. What I would suggest is more eye contact with your audience. One person, one point. Make a point that way. Speak individually. Also, what I thought was that you had magnificent hand gestures. The hands were moving. It was wonderful. It was very nice. Brando. Brando also related to flute thoughts. Brando had some flute thoughts. And his flute thoughts were of a trip to a symphony, a school trip. And he painted such a wonderful word picture. It was a great word picture. We've all been on school trips. And this, we really felt like going to the symphony. We're all with our classmates. You had very good eye contact, I will say that. But just a little bit more would be good. Okay? Because your eyes are very intelligent. You look at somebody, it's very piercing. They're going to remember what you just said to them. What I also like about it is that you shared a personal dream with us. We're complete strangers, most of us, to Brando, but now we know what Brando wants. One of the things that Brando wants, which is to play to a huge empty symphony hall, which I thought was very, very interesting. Anyway, that's Karen's team, and thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I will bring up Rick Starr to evaluate the second group.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, very happy to have you here, and viewers at home. The topics of the next three table topic speeches were very similar. The speeches themselves were very different. Three very different speeches. Jordan's speech, first of all, I want to congratulate you, Jordan, on getting up to speak in front of a group like that. First time is the hardest. Maybe you were feeling a little peer pressure to get up, but you got up and you started speaking immediately, very quick on your feet, very quick thinking on your feet. Your speech was coherent. You told us some interesting things about yourself, and you used some imagery. You started using imagery of insane asylums and gas masks. And I was so blown away by the imagery, I didn't know what you were talking about. But congratulations on your first speech. It was a very good first speech, getting up. The good thing about table topics is you don't have time to get nervous about it. Just maybe one or two suggestions. One is, this is understandable, it was your first speech, you kind of held back. I would just move up front a little more to take a little more command of the stage, and has been suggested with other speakers, use eye contact. But overall, a very good speech. Karen's speech was very impressive. It was very coherent, it flowed. This could have easily been a prepared speech, the way Karen gave it. Karen combined very good techniques with a personal story, with sincerity, and even threw in some philosophy too. Karen addressed the group when she started. She moved to the front of the stage very purposefully, very good eye contact with everyone in the audience, very good gestures, and again, it was a personal speech, and you told us about yourself. It was a very, very good speech. Tom used a technique which is acceptable, of segueing to what appeared to be a prepared speech, a prepared story. Tom, very good use of pauses to emphasize the speech, very good eye contact. And Tom stood in one place, but by moving his attention around the room and using gestures, it was as if he was moving about the stage. So very good use of that. Tom had a great finish. The audience was anticipating the punchline, Tom's laugh. And when he said my laugh, he gave out that patented Tom laugh at me. And now the third evaluator is Bob.
Yo!
Thanks, Rick. I'm glad to be your third table topic evaluator, and I'm evaluating Sarah, Monty, Cindy, and Jeff. So if you want to see the formal evaluation, just go on to sarahmontycindyandjeff.com. But we had 4 excellent deals because we talked about masking the truth, Halloween masks, to mask or not to mask, and the mask store, and what mask you would like to wear. So, Sarah, you did a great job. You came up here, and you just basically told everybody that you lie all the time, and I guess you do. And you lie about stories, and ghosts, and cookies, and kids, and everything you do, I guess you just lie, and that was really funny. The only thing I would say that you should that I can recommend that you could help on your speech is to make sure that you catch people with your eye contact. I did catch a little bit over here. I'm not sure how everybody else, but I would say everything was great. Eye contact. Monty, Halloween mask. But he changed it to a device mask, okay, which was great because you're allowed to change your topic, so he changed his topic. And he did an excellent job of taking us through a serious story when he was in the military. And he gave us that experience with tear gas. And it was very serious. And then it turned really funny because somebody had to take a picture of him when he was crying and puking and everything else. So it was great. I'm not sure you puked, but I think maybe you probably did. But your recommendation, I think to recommend, I would just say watch the movement. I'm kind of watching mine because I think you paced maybe a little too much. So stop, give some direction, some words, move a little bit. Your movement was great, but I think you need to control it a little bit better. And at the end of a speech, never say thank you. Because the audience should thank you, you shouldn't thank the audience. It's one thing to remember in Toastmasters. Cindy, to mask or not to mask? Well, Cindy is another liar. The reason she lied because when she was 7 or 8, she lied about having candy in her pocket, and she tried to disguise that with her mom, and it just didn't work, and it never does work. That 10-cent candy, I mean, it was 20, 25 cents when I was that young. Anyway. So this is just, I think Cindy did a great job. The only thing I would recommend to Cindy is that she gets into her story, and then at the end she's rushing when the red light comes on. So I'd say pace yourself a little bit better, Cindy. And then Jeff. I think Jeff did a great job. No doubt about it. He came up here. What mask would he wear? He says he just doesn't really have a preference on masks. He just doesn't know what to do, you know? I mean, well, maybe he'd wear a grass skirt. And that's really my criticism of him. Because I think it's a good idea, and I don't think he'd look good in a grass skirt. But I really don't have a whole lot of recommendations for Jeff, but I just think it was a fun time. Thank you. Turn it over to the Toastmaster, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
What a facade of great speeches. This is wonderful to have all these wonderful, it's just amazing. I mean, this table topics was just excellent. So thank you, Dan, for setting all that up, and thanks for the 2 people that decided not to give speeches tonight and show up. So there you go. We had a lot of table topics, and that's what we do at Toastmasters. We adapt. So now it's time to really get into the prepared speech. Okay, because we have one prepared speech tonight. And I'm going to introduce Art, who will read the objectives of that speech.
Good evening, Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. My name is Art Atkinson, and my task is to introduce our next speaker, Jyoti Raj, and the project that he's doing. Jyoti's been a member of Golden Speakers for the last 3 years. He grew up in Nepal. He works in town and lives here. He's doing the second speech from one of the Advanced Communication Manual's storytelling, which is called Let's Get Personal. And he selected a story that he heard as a child in school, I think 2nd or 3rd grade, one of the early 3rd grade. And his his objective for himself is to recreate for himself the experience of hearing that story by telling it to us. It was a very high-impact story for him. So please welcome Jyoti Raj Adhikar.
The title of my story is Many Moons. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom by a sea. There lived a king and her little princess, 6-year-old Lenore. The princess was very cute and beautiful. But somehow, she was very ill those days, and king was very worried about her health. So nobody could find what's going on with her. And one day, king was sitting in front of her. With despair, he asked her, "What can I bring you so that you can get well?" Then the princess just opened her eyes and said, "If you can get me the moon, I'll be good." He was a brave, big king. He had a lot of wise men around him, so he thought it's just a small task. I'll get you the moon right away. Then he ran to his throne room and called his Chamberlain, Lord Chamberlain. And he came to the throne room. The guy was a little fat, very sharp, big ears. Came to the king running and said, "What can I do for you, Your Majesty?" The king said, "My princess wants moon. Get me the moon." Get me the moon. I want the moon. And he said, "I did a lot of visit to you in the past, but I can't bring you the moon. You know how far it is? It is 30,000 miles away from the earth, and it is made up of copper. And it is bigger than our palace. It's not possible." The king was very angry. "Get lost from here. Bring me the royal wizard." So the next guy came, a thin lean with a long hat with a lot of stars. "What can I do for you, Majesty?" He said, "My daughter wants the moon. Bring me the moon. I did a lot of things to you past 30 years. But this task I can't do because it's very impossible to get the moon. The moon is 50,000 miles away, and it is made up of cheese. It is bigger than our kingdom. So sorry, Wednesday, I can't. Get lost." So he called the royal mathematician. He came there, the mathematician with a pencil. Here, "What can I do for you, Your Majesty?" He said, "Get me the moon. My princess wants the moon." Then he said, "It's not possible. It's 150,000 miles away from the earth, and it's made of silver, and the very interesting thing, it is pasted on the sky. I can bring it." The king thought, it's not possible. The only way is have somebody to come and do some magic or play some flute to him. So he called the royal jester. The jester came in and he asked him to play the flute. King asked him, "Just play me a sad song on the flute." And he asked, "What's the matter? Why you want to listen to a sad song today?" King said, "I asked to get the moon." The High Lord Chamber said, "It's 30,000 miles and it's made of copper and it's bigger than the palace." The mathematician said, it's 50,000 miles away from the earth and it's bigger than the kingdom. And the royal wizard said, it's 150 miles away from the earth and it's made of cheese. So everybody is getting moon far away and bigger and bigger. Then the well, just thought they are all wise men. So they all are correct. They must be right because they are very wise. So they all think the moon is what they think. Let's ask the princess what they think about the moon, where the moon is, how far it is, what it is made of. Then the jester runs to the princess and asks her. Runs to the princess. The princess asks him, "Did you get me the moon?" And he says, "I'll just get it. But tell me, just tell me what you know about the moon. I'll ask you some questions." And so he asks me. He asks her, "Do you know how far the moon is?" He said, "It is just behind the tree. Sometimes it's tangled in the tree. I can see from my window, it's just behind the tree. You know how big it is? It's just smaller than my thumb. When I put my thumb there, it will just hide behind my thumb. You know what is it made of? You don't know that much, silly? It is made up of gold." And the jester runs to the goldsmith and he asks him to make a small moon, as he described. And we get moon to the princess and says, "Well and good," and she starts playing. But the king's worries are not yet over, because it started being evening and the moon started rising. The king is very worried. If she see the moon again, she will fall ill. So she called all this mathematician, wizard, and everyone asked what to do. They will suggest to put black glass to the princess. Somebody suggests to put a big black velvet cover the palace. Somebody suggests to fire the crackers all the night, all the day, so that the princess cannot see the moon. The king was again very worried and asked this jester to come in. He comes in and he again asks him to play the same tune, sad tune. And again he asks what happened. He says, same thing happened. See, the moon is already there. The princess said, "What's going to happen?" The princess said, "It seems princess know much more than about the moon, much more than those wise men. Let's ask her what happened." They go there. They see that the princess was lying down on her bed and just looking at the real moon, with the moon, and she's smiling. They just run to him and ask, "See that moon? You have the moon in your hand, and there is another moon. How is it possible?" She said, "It's simple. When I lose my tooth, it's come back again. When the royal gardener cuts the flower grows again. When a unicorn loses its horn in the jungle, it's come back again. Everything come back again." So that's simple, saying that the princess, her voices fade away and she fell asleep. The jester goes to the window and winds the moon, and the moon also. Thank you.
Yo!
Excellent speech, Jody Raj. We appreciate it. And we want you to vote for the best speaker. If you can't write it down, just keep it in your mind who the best speaker is. So. All right. Okay. Well, we had flutes come up a lot in this meeting, and I can't be the general evaluator. You know why I can't be the general evaluator? Because I'm fluteless. But anyway, I want to invite the person with the grass skirt to come up here, because he's a general evaluator. It's Jeff Shipley. Jeff?
Yo!
All right, I'm the evaluator general tonight. I believe I start by calling up Art Atkinson to evaluate our speaker, Jyoti Rajakari.
Yo!
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, Toastmasters, and specifically Jyoti Raj. Where'd you go? Okay, great. Jyoti asked me to pay particular attention to two aspects of his presentation. One was the quality of his English pronunciation and grammar and choice of words, and the other was the degree to which he was really inhabiting his story and conveying how personal it was to him. So I wanted to make some comments. This is an extraordinarily difficult evaluation for me. I sat as close as possible and have yet to really fully hear what Jyoti Raj has to say. Because of the quality of my hearing, which is diminished, and the use of hearing aids, and because of the particular tone quality of your voice, Jyoti Raj, I have a very great deal of difficulty understanding about half of what you say. So one of the things that is characteristic of the way you deliver a sentence is that you do what I call swallowing the end of the sentence. That means that if the critical words of a sentence are at the end, the listener is lost because they didn't get it. I believe that the fundamental moral of this story and the high impact point of the story is the wisdom of this child and the ability of all of the adult advisors to get distracted by technical details and not to understand the real request of the child that was behind the superficial request, bring me the moon. None of them really cared to understand what was the deeper request that she was making. For her, the requests were simple to fulfill. And in fact, she was able to fulfill some of them with her own teeth. Specific grammar. In one place she said, "Princess want moon." "The princess wants the moon" is proper English for saying it. There was a word that I finally deduced was chamberlain. And I'm really not able to reproduce quite how you said the word. In telling a story like this, I would recommend that you would dramatize the climactic point of the story more than you did. There were a couple of climactic points. One of them was when the jester went to get the jeweler to make a small tiny moon, and that satisfied the first request. That was like a dramatic point that got swallowed because of the fact that you just glossed right over it and went on. Also, I'll discuss with you your written. There's a lot of the grammatical corrections that I'm suggesting are evident right here in your written introduction of yourself, and we can go over that separately. So thank you for telling the story. And as far as the second objective, I think it's clear that Jyoti Raj was really fully into that story. Mr. General Evaluator.
Yo!
All right, so that concludes the middle portion of our meeting, and we'll move right along here to our reports from our role players, starting with Mr. Timer.
Thank you. So for the table topics, we'll start out with Sam, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Sudevi, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Brando, 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Jordan, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Karen, 1 minute and 47 seconds. Tom, 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Sarah, 1 minute and 21 seconds. Monty, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Cindy, 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Jeff, 1 minute and 13 seconds. Yes. Then the main speech itself was 8 minutes and 13 seconds. The table topics evaluators, John, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Rick, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. And Bob, 3 minutes and 7 seconds. And the speech evaluation part with 3 minutes and 34 seconds.
Oh, 4.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. Before we turn it over to our counter, I was amiss, and we need to vote for the best evaluator. We had some good ones tonight, so take a very quick moment and vote.
Are disqualified.
Yeah, I DQ'd.
That's a shame.
I'm overtime.
Our choices would be John, Rick, and Bob. All right, so what's being tabulated? Let's hear from our all counter, Mr. Monty Condon.
Yay!
Yeah,
I had the privilege of being the odd counter this evening. I will start with my lashings first. I had 3 so's and 2 ands. Rhonda, I think you were pristine. Diane, you had 1 so. Jeff, you had 2 ums and a so. Dan, you had 1 1 2 so's. Jean, I think you were pristine.
Oh, man, that never
Ah!
John, you had 1 Yes. Rick, you had 3 ahs. Mr. Toastmaster Bob, you had 2 ahs, 1 so, and 1 and. And was Cindy here? Is there Cindy? Cindy, you were also clear on me. Syria, you had 3 ahs, 3 ums, and 1 and.
Yes.
Art, I had you for being clear, but maybe you just hypnotized me. Jyoti, I had you for 2 so's and 1 false start. Karen, she's no longer here. She had 2 ums and 2 ands. Our honored guests, Sam, you had 1 ah, 2 ums, 2 likes, and a so. Sue Davy, you had 2 likes, a so, and an and. Brando, you had 1 ah, 2 ums, and 2 ands. Jordan, who's also no longer here, she had 3 ums, 2 likes, 1 you know, and an and. Sarah, you had 1 like and 2 ands. And Tom, you had 1 so and 1 and. Thank you.
Yo! Madam Marion, Diane Dimbaugh.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening again. Facade was used twice by Bob, once by Dan, once by Tom, and 2 times by John. And I'm going to comment on some other things I heard. Joe T., I loved when you said, "My princess wants the moon, get me the moon."
Ah!
The way he clicked his finger. Bob, as the Toastmaster, your voice is welcoming, clear, and you use a lot of humor. Thank you. Karen, when she said interactive agenda in introducing table topics, I like that. Sam, using utterly mortifying. I also have one little thing to help you along. When you're speaking, say because, not just cause. 'Cause.
Okay.
I might have heard it before, but I did hear that from you. Sue Davy gave a point of view, and I just loved how you took me to that level of not thinking about ourselves, but looking at a group and saying, how can I serve that group? I just love that feeling of service you brought in. Thank you. Brando, this whole theater to yourself with the symphony, very visual. Dan, literal-minded, it just worked for you. Jordan, you know, a mask from an insane asylum. I don't think anybody here's ever talked about an insane asylum. Even though he basically is.
Or lobotomy.
Karen, I know he's not here. Okay. Tom, really, a visual, Tom's blue body, his pink granny slippers. Sarah, just opening the way you did, I had no way where you were going, because I lie all the time. Monty, just the way you captured me, a pinnacle experience. Cindy, you got me with that embraced by a cool feeling as you walked into that cement building. And Jeff, in a grass skirt, having wine and seeing what happens. Thank you.
Yo!
That's my report.
Let's bring up our greeter joke master.
Yo!
Something great.
Bumper stickers that you may want to put on your car. Ambivalent? Well, Yes and no. Does your train of thought have a caboose? Is it time for your medication or mine? I thought I wanted a career. Turns out I just wanted a paycheck. How do I set the laser printer to stun? I'm not tense, just terribly, terribly alert. Well, this day was a total waste of makeup. Women, we know what that is. Don't bother me. I'm living happily ever after. I started out with nothing and still have most of it left. And your crybaby whiny opinion would be ... question mark.
All right, now it's my turn to evaluate the meeting and the other evaluators. I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. First, our table topics evaluators. It was already mentioned, this is one of my meetings that I enjoy the most, when we get to see everyone gets to come up, participate, get to express themselves, learn more about each other. So again, thank you for the people who cancel their speeches, and for Dan Craig on making No, but we had wonderful evaluators, starting with John. Very detailed recaps of each speaker, which was just wonderful. And then again, the humor which played on the substance of each speaker, which really added a great dynamic that really engages people, and I hope helped the speakers. Rick, again, very helpful, encouraging comments, and again, great use of humor. The only thing I could have recommended for you is you kept going back to very good as your default. You know, there's a lot of satisfactory, exceptional, well done, there's lots of different words. Bob, again, great use of humor, you really made us all laugh. Helpful suggestions, precise commendments. I mean, yeah, you guys did a great job. I hope everyone appreciated your evaluations. You guys are, again, probably the more jovial, humorful people of the club. So it was great to have you guys up here. Art, again, fantastic evaluation. Your voice seemed a couple octaves lower than it usually is, so you're even more stoic and sagacious than usual, which I really appreciated. And again, very sincere, and I suspect your evaluation was tremendously helpful to the speaker as well. Again, as a meeting of the whole, I really do want to commend the guests that came up and participated in table topics. Especially, it was kind of, I guess, disappointing to me last week at our big event that we weren't able to bring a guest up here. So to come up the following week and have 4 or 5 guests come up, I think was a really, really appreciating as a member to see that. So again, I hope you guys come again and enjoyed your experience with us. I believe I have 4 minutes to talk, but again, Toastmasters is very serious about staying on time. And again, we have an example to set for all the people that came. So I will yield back my time and bring up our Toastmaster to present the meeting awards.
Yo!
Yo!
Moving right along. Well, we got 3 awards tonight. One for an evaluator, a table topics master, and a speaker. So let's hear it first for the table topics. That goes to Karen, who is not here. So, so I'll just take that.
You're always going to take
All right, then we got the best evaluator. All right. John.
Yeah.
I gave you the wrong one. There you go. All right, let's hear it for the best speaker. Come on, louder. Hey, what do you come up here for? Go It was a great speech, so he absolutely deserved that award. So that's it. We're concluding the meeting. And unless we have any comments, well, of course, Tom, I'm going to refer it over to Rhonda, but, you know, obviously she's the most important, and she'll also get some comments from our guests. So, Rhonda, I'd like to invite you up to close out the meeting.
Great job, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'd like to mention that these awards are marketing tools for us, and anyone that won an award tonight could take this home for a week and put it on your desk. People say, oh, what are you the best speaker of? You could talk to them about Toastmasters. It's a very great educational group. I'd like to ask our guests if anyone would like to stand up and say something they appreciated about the meeting tonight. Sarah?
I have a lifelong fear of public speaking, and I was totally going to chicken out, and I would like to thank Gene for making me come.
Yeah, I just have to say I wasn't expecting that quality of evaluation, and it was really in depth and really kind of got to the core of everything that's like there's nothing that's hidden, so it's like it kills your ego a little bit because there's such like laser eyes, and so I just love the whole thing. It's a good environment to really learn what there is to work on.
Very good.
I also liked how the evaluators got evaluated. That kind of blew my mind. It's like Inception. So really cool, and I really want to join. So I want to see how it could go.
Yay!
Well, I didn't go up today, but I just sitting here, I really appreciated the light, fun atmosphere of the group. Like you all just get along really well and joke with each other and have fun with it. So,
thank you.
Enjoyed myself. The humor was the greatest. The evaluation, the whole process, and I love Tom's laugh.
It's famous.
I want to record his laugh and use that at a radio show. Thank you.
Mahesh, would you like to say anything?
No.
Okay, thank you. Our meeting will be again next week at 7:30. You can arrive at 7:30. The meeting gears up at 7:40. We're ready to go, hopefully. Everybody gets their ducks in order. And at 7:45 we take off. So please come early. It's nice to socialize and get to know each other a little better. Next week will also be our Executive Office Council meeting. And I'd like to invite members to come to discuss our DCP program and ways we can improve our group meetings, create the best climate in our club, and how we can resolve conflict more efficiently in our club. And unless anyone else has a comment, or I will adjourn the meeting till next week at 7:30.